Morning, folks. It's Bob here at Serenity Hill. You can see behind my shoulder here, my house is a construction zone again. Last week I did something that I wish I'd been able to do before we moved in, but it didn't work out. I bought the first 4 bundles of insulation and put insulation up in the ceiling. And boy, the scaffold came in handy for that. You can see the sunlight glowing through the bottles behind me. It really looks nice when I have the lights out. Speaking of lights, I've got 4 of these 60-watt LED flat fixtures, can fixtures in the ceiling in here, and I've got another circuit. You can see the wire hanging down there that I was going to run 4 more for a total of 8 in here. And Debbie says, we don't need more lights in here, because half the time, even at night, she'll run the dimmer down a little bit. So she says, we don't need more lights in here. So I'll have to figure out something else to do there. One thing that I did make a mistake on is up right in here, I've got I put a wire, ran it from the outlet over here, ran a wire up to tie in a ceiling fan. Now there's no switch on it because the ceiling fan that we're going to get, you use a remote to turn it on and off. So I was just going to run it off that, but I may just run it off this wire over here. But at any rate, that's what I was doing last week, insulating, and it's amazing the difference it makes. I've got this little infrared pyrometer, lets you shoot temperatures on things. You see got the little laser, you can see that, and so you can see what you're taking the temperature of. And I was able to take temperatures, and on the area over here where I don't have any of the foam yet, it was, on the day I was working on insulation, it was 106 degrees. And on the areas where I did have the foam, it was in the 90s, about 95, 96 degrees, about 10 degrees cooler. And then in the areas where I put the insulation, checked the temperature on the insulation, it was only 85 degrees. So it dropped the temperature that's reflecting the heat that's reflecting down in the room by 21 degrees. And you could tell a visible difference. And that's only with half of it done. So I'm looking forward here next week. I'll be buying some more insulation and putting that in. And today is Labor Day. Goodness gracious. Leo found a scrap of wood and is going to town on that. He loves to chew. He loves to chew on pieces of wood. All right, guys, we're heading out. Well, come on. We'll bring it with you. He's a silly mutt. Anyway, you know, on my little garden thing here, I've got, it's been really a mixed bag. And I think a part of that's the soil that I got. It had a lot of wood chips and the like in it, and I just don't think it was really ready for growing yet. I'm trying to go organic. Been putting the fish food, the fish based fertilizer in it, and it just hasn't really grown the way I would hope it would. I mean, you can see here's some of the soil, and you can see big chunks of wood in it that aren't really broken down, and I think it's just not quite ready doesn't have enough nutrients. I've been trying to supplement it, but just hasn't grown that well. My container tomato, my shop vac tomato, doing pretty decent. I got quite a few tomatoes off of it. My peppers, we got one round of peppers off of it, and then they didn't put out any more blooms. So haven't gotten very many peppers. They didn't grow that big. I've got a few green beans. The green beans are starting to do better now that the weather's a little cooler. So they like it cooler. Of course, the pecan tree's doing pretty good. And then my little garden flower garden, perennial garden. The first year you plant in the fresh ground, it just it doesn't seem to do real well because the soil just isn't that great around here. But hey, I can't do anything about that. Just work around it, right? So today's Labor Day. I'm home. Debbie's having to work today, so I'm going to be working today as well, doing a little cleanup. Saturday, I pulled the smoker up here under cover of the RV awning and smoked a brisket. That was really good, so I'll get that out of the way. And then tomorrow I've got to I'm taking my aunt to her final radiation treatment for cancer that came back. And so I'm going to go out here and clean my truck out. Something I've been needing to do for a long, long time. Finally get around to doing that. I'm also going to be making some measurements. I've got a design that I've figured out. I've been working on anyway. Debbie's got a laundry basket she's been using for years. It's one of these tall plastic things. The handles are broken on it, and it's deep. And so she's always having to bend over to get into it and drag it from the bedroom into the laundry room. And so I'm going to build her a cart. I'll make the legs of it out of some pine that I'll cut out of some 2x4 that I've got. And I've got 3 cypress boards. They're about 2x4. They're rough cut cypress boards. I'll run those through my planer and then cut those down into thin strips. And I think I'm going to do a little basket weave for the sides out of cypress. And that'll keep the weight down, put it on wheels so it can move back and forth, put a little deal on it to so that anything that's hanging, she can put on that, a bar, and be on wheels so that she can roll it back and forth instead of dragging it. One of the things I did last week, before I started my insulation, is I built this set of shelves here that I put in the laundry room above the washer and dryer. And this is just out of 2x4 and some edge glued pine. And what I did here, this is the same stain that I use on the cabinets. And then for the uprights, I just took some 2x4 pine and cut it down into a little bit smaller pieces. I put a thin layer of black stain on, and then I put this stain over it so it gives it a little darker look, and it fits in pretty nice there. So the only thing is I can't get her to use the shelves. She said they're too nice. I don't want to put all the stuff on it and mess it up. So maybe eventually she'll decide to use them. So that's one of the things I did aside from the insulation. So I'll be making her laundry cart. That's on my project list this week. Oh, you coming back in, Maggie? Maggie's not big on staying outside for long periods of time, especially if it's hot out. It's really nice today. Okay, you coming back? Nope, she's got to eat her bone. This week I'm also going to be, later this week, I'm going to finally get out to my buddy's place and cut some more cedar down. And I'm going to have to process a bunch of cedar logs, because that area behind me there that's got the OSB on it, I want to get as much of that closed in as I can before the weather sneaks up on me and gets cold and I start getting some freezing temps. It's not that far away. Here it is, September 2nd, I think it is, Labor Day. And our first frost is usually around mid-October. So I'll have a few weeks to do some cordwood. I've got some logs that are drying and others that are close. So my goal is to at least get that partial wall done this season. I'd like to get both of those done. Don't know that I'll be able to get the one on the back side of the house done this year, because it seems like sometimes I got more ambition than I do energy. But at least we're in it and we're making it work. So I'll be getting some more logs, been spending some time out in the woods, and I've got a video out there that shows how I peel and process the logs. The only problem is that at the time that I did that video, I didn't have a real good microphone set up, and so the sound is really, really bad on it. So I think I'm going to redo that and do a new video on peeling bark from logs and processing logs to put in walls. Because there's quite a few people that have questions about that. How do you get that done? So that's what I have in store for this week. Just thought I'd catch you up on what's going on and where we're going. Yeah, kind of the plans going forward. Lots of work to do. Speaking of work, I guess I better get off here and get some work done. Get my truck cleaned out, get the oil changed, and get ready for a little trip. And then next week I got to do some work on my trailer wiring to get it ready to go, because next week I've got to make a trip to Oklahoma to go pick up my wood stove, because it's not going to be too long. I'll need heat, and right now we don't have any kind of heat in the house. So I got to get that taken care of too. So lots of work to do. So I guess I better get down to it. Okay, thanks for stopping by. We will catch you on the next one. Bye now.